G'day and welcome to the Hunting Connection podcast. My name is Zach Williams and I am your host. Here we'll connect you with hunters, fishers and outdoor enthusiasts from around the globe. This podcast will share hunting and fishing stories including past experiences and tackle the tough hunting stereotypes our community faces. We hope to be a positive influence to those outside the community while also having a laugh along the way. Hope you enjoy the podcast. So welcome back to another episode of the Hunting Connection podcast. First off, I would like to say everyone for sticking around for the month delay after me having some tech issues with the computer and being locked out of it for a month and then finally getting Ilias's episode out. Today I've got Richard Barker with me. He's a former hunting guide and just all-round good bloke and good hunter.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. Thank you for being here. So we'll get straight into it. Where are you from?
As in, like, originally?
Both.
Okay. So, I'm from Adelaide, but my parents migrated out here from India back in the 60s.
Yeah.
And so I've spent my whole life in Adelaide and grew up, schooled here. And
Yep.
So, yes.
Awesome. So did you go back to India?
I have never, the closest I've come is going to the airport in Mumbai on the way to London.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So no.
No, awesome.
So,
awesome. Yeah. How old are you?
I'm 62.
62?
Yes.
Well, you don't look it.
Oh, thank you.
This must be all the hunting and and outdoors stuff you do.
Yeah, it's moisturising and drugs.
What do you do for work?
I'm a physio.
Physio?
So that's
awesome.
all I've ever been,
Yeah.
apart from a hunting guide.
Awesome. So hunting guide, how'd you get into that?
So a long time ago, back in the 90s, a friend that I used to hunt with called Nigel, and he's actually from Veteran Hunts.
Yep.
So he and I were very friendly. We used to hunt a lot together. And we used to go duck hunting at Water Valley.
Yep.
This is in the early 90s and late 80s. And the owner of Water Valley, who's now died, he decided he would fence his property, and that's when he started getting into deer hunting.
Yep.
And so Nigel and I thought it would be a really good idea for us to provide hunts. And with all due respect, we thought we'd provide slightly more upmarket kind of hunts to people in Australia and around the world, and it took off really well. In fact, so much so that I had to put a lid on how much I was doing because I had a very young family at that time and I couldn't afford time away from little ones and and wife and work. So that's how we started.
Awesome. So you were some of the first were the first guides on Water Valley, or
I actually was the very first one to take out any clients on Water Valley.
Awesome.
And that was before he started his commercial venture.
Yeah.
And then yes, so but we were at that time probably the one of the first few commercial operations in that area.
Yeah, so anyone that's listening that doesn't know what we're talking about with Water Valley, it's a game hunting ranch in the southeast of South Australia, in between, say, Kingston and Robe. Isn't it?
It's probably it's in between Salt Creek and Kingston.
Salt Creek and Kingston.
Yeah.
That's what I meant anyway. The bloke put half a dozen deer species on there. There was blackbuck out there at one point.
He did have blackbuck. He originally fenced 64,000 acres.
Yep.
Of his land, and he stocked it with all the game species. So they were already fallow there.
Yep.
And then he put all the other species on there, including blackbuck. And of course, the hoggies didn't take.
Yep.
And the blackbuck just seemed to die with the cold.
Yeah.
In fact, I reckon one of my clients probably took the only trophy blackbuck that was around before they all died.
Yeah, wow.
Off. And that was only because it had a cancerous growth in its eye and the owner wanted to get rid of it.
So they're an Indian species, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they'd be used to the warmer...
Indian, Pakistan.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
But I mean, they live in Texas. It gets quite cold in Texas.
Yeah.
Sometimes. I think it's just the cover
That's
and
true.
shrubbery. And I don't know that at that time. I don't know that he was willing to put that much effort into conserving them, and he was more, into the reds and everything else.
Yeah. So was it reds and fallow he started off with originally and then built up, or did he just get...
He had everything. He
everything.
Had reds, fallow, rusa, samba. The unfortunate thing is, for a long time, he had the samba and rusa in together in a similar area, and they did interbreed, and then he kind of realised that, and he sort of tried his best to separate them.
I've seen a few rhubarb. That shot down that way.
I mean, and they look quite okay. It's just people want a samba or a rusa.
Purebred.
Sure. He actually, at one point, he even had water buffalo.
Yeah, that was my next question. I heard rumours that there was water buffalo down there for a little bit.
They were placid as anything.
Yeah.
They were just like cattle roaming around. And
I heard a few got out, and we're driving down there one day, and I was with my mum and stepdad and sister, and we're driving along, and I'm telling them the story, and we drive past a paddock full of black Angus, and they're like, "Oh, look, Zach, there's a water buffalo." And to this day, they pay the shit out of me for it.
Yeah, family. They're good at doing that. Yeah.
So how did you get into hunting and fishing?
So my father he was in the army in India.
Yeah.
And in the army, that's what people did. They hunted and fished, and his big passion was duck hunting.
Yeah.
Actually, and then he did a lot of. He actually shot several tigers and
that's awesome.
Leopards, and then he actually went to Ethiopia for 3 years.
Yep. So was that hunting tigers on elephant?
No.
You see that?
No, he never did that. So because they knew he was an avid hunter, in the army, he was kind of called upon regularly to dispatch an old animal that started stealing cattle or goats or something, because the next stage is humans.
Yeah.
So at that time, they didn't have sophisticated things like trapping them and relocating them.
Yeah.
They just killed them.
Yeah.
So he was asked to do quite a lot of that, and I can remember pictures and all the skins on.
Do you still have the photos of any of that stuff?
Got photos.
Yeah.
Yes, I have an amazing photograph of my father in Ethiopia. So he was hunting lions from what they call a boma, B-O-M-A. It's like a ground blind with thorn brush. And he had shot a lion, but they were waiting until his men came to pick them up in the dark, so they didn't want to get out of the blind. And he heard sniffing going around the thorn brush. And he looked to his left, and there was a male lion's face looking in through the thorns at him at a distance of about 30 centimetres.
Yeah, wow.
And so he picked up his camera and just clicked it off. And I've got that slide at home, which I keep meaning to take somewhere. And
that would be awesome to see.
Would, yeah.
So do you have many of the other hunting photos? And
I've got a lot of his old hunting photographs of ducks and various African antelope and Indian deer that he had shot, And then when he came here, he started duck hunting in Blanchetown, actually. Yeah, and so that's how I picked up. I started spotlighting rabbits with him, and then, getting into duck hunting, and then goats and deer. And
that seems to be the start for everyone in Australia, spotlighting rabbits and foxes and hares, and work your way up goats. And these days deer are more prevalent than anything else, really.
There was a really he befriended this guy in Blanchetown.
Yep.
Had this big property, and he was duck hunting there. And my mum and I were camping with him, and I was too lazy to get up in the morning to go duck hunting. So Mum and I stayed in the tent, and he came back in a flurry. He was all flustered, and he'd shot a mountain duck.
Yeah.
But he'd never seen mountain duck. Well, he thought it was a goose, right? Because it honks.
Yeah.
And he shot this thing, and he was wading out to get it, and it disappeared under the... It was dead. It disappeared under the surface. He got really freaked out because he expected there to be crocodiles there, because that's what he was used to. So he's backed out, and then he realised there can't be any crocodiles. Anyway, when we were leaving, we went to the farmhouse, And the property owner was wetting himself laughing at Dad. So, yeah, sure, yeah, it must have been a crocodile. Anyway, and a couple of months later, we went back to that place, and the property owner ran out and grabbed us and took us into the kitchen. And on his kitchen table would have been a 5-foot cod that they netted in that swamp that they reckon probably just took the duck.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I've never seen a bigger cod.
The cod get huge. There's a old photo that I heard. It's a paddle steamer hit it, and it would be a 6-foot cod and an Aboriginal man standing next to it.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah.
I think I first seen it in one of the Sporting Shooters magazines
I reckon I've
as a
seen
kid.
It, yeah.
So
I saw some of your video of some of the cod you caught.
yeah, in Happy Valley Reservoir.
So that was Happy.
Yeah.
That was
So
awesome. That's
we've had a bunch of reservoirs, for the people listening. We've had a bunch of reservoirs opened up. We've never been really able to fish any of these water reservoirs. And the last 4 or 5 years, they've been stocking them with fingerlings of cod, silver perch, golden perch, some trout, and they've been slowly breeding up. Well, not breeding up, but growing, and it's been a really good fishery. And then recently, they've opened a metro reservoir up, and they put 1,000 cod in there, 5 to 8 kilo cod, and it's been really good for people like myself that haven't really experienced cod fishing. And it's definitely
I was blown away. That was awesome.
Yeah, some people catching up to 20 a day.
I've never caught one.
Awesome. You need to head down. People are catching them off the bank.
Were you doing that on soft plastics?
Just trawling hard body lures, divers, but people were catching them on bait, chicken,
Really?
Cheese, all sorts of stuff.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I loved seeing that. Yeah.
It's really promising. It had a bit of a rocky start because in South Australia you're not allowed to take Murray cod out of the water, and they didn't really have any of these rules up around the reservoir when they opened up. So all these people were taking them out. Some people were taking them home to eat them. There was photos of people gutting them and that on the bank. They're like, I caught a feed. So it was a pretty poor start. Yeah. But the knowledge is getting out there now. They got big signs up everywhere, so
it's good.
Hopefully, it comes a promising reservoir. And
have you? Sorry, I know this is your podcast.
No, it's all good.
Questions. Have you been at South Para at all?
I went to South Para last week. This week, Monday. I didn't catch anything. I was chatting to one of the guys that was fishing out there that runs a bunch of the reservoir fishing pages. He's seen a bunch of cod on his depth finder. Oh, okay. But they just weren't biting. Yeah. And then he got a nice, I think it was a 45 centimetre callop on the way back through.
Beautiful.
But yeah, it's a big reservoir. Like I was up in the back corner, and it takes you over half an hour to get back from the back corner to the ramp. And that was me, all the rods in and just paddling flat out.
Really?
Yeah. But you have to go on calmer days. The other week when I was at Happy Valley, it was 60k gusts, and it was white caps on the water.
So I get confused between South Para and Warren.
Yeah, so South Para is, just say you're looking at the map, it's kind of on the left-hand side of Williamstown, where Warren's closer to Birdwood.
Yes, so you go through Williamstown and then you get to...
Yeah.
Warren, yes.
So, if
Warren's
you went
North
through...
Para. Is that the same thing?
I'm not too sure.
No, okay.
Possibly. Yeah. I know that the Warren feeds into the South Para, so it's a good...
And it's bigger, isn't it?
South Para is, I believe.
Para is
yeah. It's a bit tighter, but it's got more little coves and stuff, and nice. Better structure for fish. So it's a really good fishing opportunity for us. We just need fishing licenses now.
Yes, agreed.
So what type of gear do you run?
Well, I'm a rifle hunter and a shotgunner.
Yep.
So I have several rifles. I've got a 22, of course, because everyone needs a 22. I had a 223 Ackley.
Yep.
Ackley Improve.
Heard good stories about that rifle.
It's just a wonderful rifle. I've shot probably more deer with my 223 than anything over the last 6 to 10 years.
Some of the eastern states would be a bit...
That'd be horrifying. Even the ADA are horrified.
Yeah.
But, I'm shooting... My 223 will shoot 88 grain bullets.
Yeah.
That's 243 material, really. And, look, I've seen what it does. I don't tell everybody else, but it punches through a full fallow deer at 300 yards. I get mushroomed on the opposite side. It doesn't.
It's where you shoot them.
Yes,
at the end of the day.
Right. And then I got a 257 Weatherby,
Yep.
and that was just a bromance thing because I'd always lusted after a 257 Weatherby from reading reports of years gone by.
Yeah.
Of people who had used them and done them. The biggest problem with the 257 25 calibers until now is their bullet selection has been crap.
Yeah.
But now they're actually bringing out 130 grain bullets for the 257, which is a real game changer for
Awesome.
them. So that'll be on the agenda and a bit of a project for me in the next couple of years.
So you do all your own reloading?
My friend Steve does my reloading for me because I haven't had room in my houses over the last couple of to set up my reloading gear. So he reloads it. He's got all my dies and all my stuff, and he reloads them for me. So
That's a pretty good deal.
Oh, he's a great guy. Hey, I'm pretty good to him too, but no, he's a great guy, and he does it. He is anal with his reloading. I call him a guru because he's just knowledgeable and he's very, very helpful and shares his knowledge freely. So then I've got a 280. Again, it's a 280 Ackley improved, which I'm currently shooting 162 grain AMAX bullets. But when I run out of them, I'll probably shoot the ELDs.
Yep. Lots of people are moving to their ELDs. They're liking them.
Look, even the old AMAXs, they're just the 7mm has long been recognised as being able to kill way out of its league. People have been, in the old days, they didn't understand fully. Now we know that its BCs and sectional densities are so high, and you can shoot heavy for caliber bullets with the 7mm. So I've just fallen in love with 7mm in general.
Yeah, I one of my first deer was taken with a 7mm 08.
Oh yeah,
and it was my top rifle to get for a long time, and then I got a 270 to start off with, and then to practice for eventually going to New Zealand, I went and got a 300 Win Mag.
Yeah.
So it was just that in between caliber. I'm like, should I? And then ended up going the 300.
A lot of the guys we hunt with all run 708s.
Yeah.
Many of them have got 708 Achilles as well. There's less case stretch, more longevity and tiny a bit of extra powder, but great caliber.
Yeah. It was good. It was just a little fallow doe I took with it, but it was
sure. I used to have a 300 Win Mag that I shot my biggest sambar with it, and I shot red deer with it, but I just wasn't using it as much, so I sold it. So.
Yeah. I had to put the 270 down to start using the 300 to get some practice with it, get used to the recoil. And
did you reload for it?
No. I'm a family man. I don't really have the time, and I have to choose where I put my time. So I just.
What is the 300?
It's a ticker.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's really nice. I took my first deer with it last year. The only deer I've taken with it so far.
And shoots well.
Yeah, it does. I don't really long range shoot. I bought it to work on my long range shooting, but haven't. The doe I took at 40 meters with it, and then I took a fox at 150 meters with it. So yeah.
The fox wouldn't have liked that much.
No. Had a bad day. So what's in your hunting pack when you go out for the day? Do you just have a little day pack, or do you not take a pack?
I do have a day pack, but I take a big pack.
Yep.
For several reasons. Where we hunt, the property owner doesn't like us driving into his paddocks. So we can drive along outside tracks and then we walk in. So very often, and especially if I'm on my own, I've got to pack everything out.
Yep.
So depending on what I want to bring back, very often I'll actually bone the deer out in the bush.
Yep.
Okay.
I've done that many times.
Yeah. I'll quarter it up. I'll take the backstraps off first. I'll quarter it up and I'll hang the limbs in the tree and skin it off and then bone it off the bone then, just so I'm carrying less,
Yeah.
On occasion, there's times I've shot 2 deer, for example, so I've come back the next day just to recover the meat.
So do you carry a meat hook with you while you're out?
So my very good friend, Dwayne, Aussie Out Bush, he manufactures these magnificent tools. They're called a gambrel. He calls it a hoof gambrel. And so I keep that in my pack, and with that, it's like a spreader bar that links onto the animal's legs, and so if you've got two of them, two people, I should say, you can hoist it up into a limb of a tree.
Yeah, so I got a plastic gamble.
Oh, yeah.
So I used to work in an abattoirs for my first job, and the plastic gambles would break a fair bit. So it's just a plastic hook that I carry. I wrap some rope around it. It's enough rope to get me around any tree, and then it's quite hard to hang a deer by yourself. But if you got someone with you, you can pull them up in the tree quite a bit.
Yes, it's pretty hard. Yes, I've because I'm short. Everyone asks me to lift the deer up while they're tied off because they can reach and tie it off on the limbs and stuff. And they think it's hilarious when I'm holding the deer upside down and it's sliding down my face with its.
You can get it high enough for them.
I can get it high enough so that its head's off the ground, but they deliberately wait until the thing's sliding down so its dick is like on my cheek. And I think it's hilarious.
Anyone that's hung a deer or a goat in a tree, we've all been there.
Done that, yeah. That's when I drop it and start sulking.
So do you prefer gutting and butchering and skinning while it's hanging in a tree if you have that option?
If I can, it's way easier. I mean, I'll do it where I can, but it's way easier if you can get it up off the ground and don't have to squat and kneel and get dirt everywhere.
Yeah, so do you normally take the skin off first, gut, and break it down that way, or
if it's not too hot, I will do that. If it's really hot, I like to get the guts. Just cool it down a little bit, and then I'll pull it away, maybe into the shade. Yeah. There's another thing I carry in my pack. I've got a couple of 3 by 2.5 space blankets. Yeah. They're almost as thick as the sun shields you put on your windscreen. Yeah. And so I'll put them on the ground just to keep it as clean as possible. And then I'll put the deer on there and I'll skin it out there. Yeah. And butcher it out there.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. And they're easy. You just wash them off. Yeah. Except if you forget and they stink like
Same with game bags.
Absolutely.
I got pillowcases I just use because they're $3 for a couple.
Yeah.
Carry them around and if you forget to wash them after the trip, they...
Yeah. So that's it. And then I've got the usual, like in my one pouch I've got knives and a sharpener, and the other pouch I've got bits of cordage, to hang it. And then I've got a first aid kit. I made my own first aid. Bandages, essential and ointments, and, stingos.
It's surprising the amount of people that don't take a first aid kit into the bush. The Send It Mate podcast guys, I think one of them had an issue with not taking a first aid kit out with them.
Yeah, right.
Luckily, Camp Mum was there with the
he's pretty good, Camp Mum. He's a good bloke.
Nah, they're all good blokes. So if anyone hasn't listened to that podcast, it's Send It Mate podcast. Go check them out. They're a bunch of good blokes. That's how I met Richard through there. He was on there, and we've had a couple of dinners together, all of us together, and a few drinks,
conversations.
Yeah.
Political things, which we probably should.
No, we'll stay away from the political and COVID shit. With your knives, are you running all fixed blades? Do you have replaceable blades?
No. I just don't. I have a couple of cold steel knives. Yeah, you've seen the cold steel brand. I've got a Master Hunter, which is a great butchering knife, and then I've got a couple of. God, I've forgotten the name of them. I'll think of them shortly. They're tiny little, like a 2-inch blade, fixed blade. Yeah. And I was just finding I could do everything I needed with one of those little blades, and it saved a bit of weight carrying it around in the bush, So carrying all my other knives. Then Dwayne found that in Coles for $2 you can buy a paring knife. Yeah. That's about 2.5 inches, and they are. I found them fantastic. Brilliant. You can sharpen them like crazy. If you break it, you don't care because you throw it away, and then you buy another 15 when you go to Coles next time. And I found them fantastic, but some of the changeable. If you're doing a lot of skinning, like someone like Dwayne, who's a taxidermist, he's got some pretty cool interchangeable blade things. And
I carry an interchangeable replaceable blade one, a Gerber, and it's brilliant. It's got a little blade on it, just basically a surgeon blade, and you can do the whole deer, break down a whole fallow from everything with it. You can get in between the joints. But I'm a sucker. I carry a big bag. I think it's a 75 litre plus 10 Tatonka hiking pack or hiking hunting pack, and I I carry 3-4 different knives. I carry a steel.
Well, you could carry your food, a snack. You can carry your water. You can.
Yeah, I carry a little hiking chair with me on some of the stuff and set that up. When we went out hunting with Luke and Ilias, when Ilias took his first goat, I took my camp stove, I took oil, I took seasoning, and we cut up some goat and cooked it up. And,
Beautiful.
But yeah, I'm a sucker for carrying way too much when we're out.
I know, but at the end, you can even boil up water for coffee. Because
I do that. Winter days, I have coffee and 2-minute noodles.
I mean, the way
soup.
we hunt, we're not walking all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, a very productive way is to sit and
exactly,
and watch, and you can have your stuff. And then I personally don't like bipods.
Yep.
So only because they tend to make my rifle feel unbalanced and top heavy, and I do use them, but I prefer not to. So I use my pack as a rest, and I can shoot at. When we were practicing about a year or 18 months ago at another place up in the near Burra, I mean, I was shooting 800 yards with my 280 just off my pack.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, I'm not going to shoot at an animal at 800, but if I can practice out to that far, then I'm comfortable at 450, 500. So.
Yeah, the Kiwis shoot animals at that distance all the time. I got a good mate over there, and it's not unusual for him to shoot deer at 800 yards. Yeah. He's got a his wife is 7 months pregnant, and she just took a fallow at 300 yards. They went for a hike with her being 7 months pregnant, and just took a deer. Great. So. That's brilliant. That's pretty awesome. Anything else? First aid kit. You said the first aid kit and basic bandages and stuff.
Snacks.
Yeah, snacks.
What's your muesli bar or two?
Muesli bar.
Yeah, muesli bar. I used to like taking chocolate. I love chocolate.
Yeah,
but it makes me thirsty, and I just don't want to. But the muesli bars or nuts. Nuts and
trail mix and
trail mix kind
nuts
of
and
stuff.
bolts type.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And Hainesy, our friend Josh Haynes.
Yeah.
He gave me a great knife that, it's got one of those curved blades.
Yep.
With a blunt tip at the end. So it pulls. So I'm looking forward to using that this year.
Yeah, so I've got one it's got like a little ball on the tip.
Correct.
And
that's right.
It's used so that when you're cutting down the skin and cutting down the stomach, you don't stab yourself in the leg. When I was working on the slaughter floor, if people weren't using the correct knives, it wasn't unusual for someone to get carried out with a knife sticking out of their leg. So it's been a few times. I've actually got 2 of them. I'll show you after. They're a great blade.
But even for gutting, it's nice to that little
it's
skin up off the.
It keeps the skin off the stomach. Yes. You're not opening up stuff that you don't want to.
I reckon that works better than a gut hook.
Oh, 100%. I'm not a massive fan of a gut hook.
Yeah.
I'll just use a normal knife and I'll just run the 2 fingers between the skin and just slowly go up or slowly go down depending on where how you're doing it.
You've done the gutless method at all?
Not really. I'm a big organ meat eater, so I eat liver, heart, kidneys, all of that all that good stuff. I'll take cool fat every now and again. Keep that in my freezer.
Ranella finally talked me into it. Not literally, but so last year, 2021, I carried a Ziploc bag.
Yep.
I kept it at camp.
Yeah.
But a Ziploc bag of liver spices that he suggested.
Yeah.
And heart spices. And no one bought a liver or heart bag into camp at all.
I don't get it. I absolutely love eating organ meat. Quite often when I was living up at Mount Torrens up at my parents' houses, we would just take the heart, the liver, tenderloins, and straight away chuck all of that in the pan with chili, garlic, and all the other good stuff, and then salt, pepper, and onion, and all of that, and just cook it up straight away.
I'm going to do that at least once.
Yeah.
If
heart. Have you not eaten heart?
I have eaten heart.
Do you like it?
I didn't like it when I tried it. That's 20 years ago.
Yeah, wow.
I didn't want to try it again.
Was it more of a mind over matter thing than... No?
No. When I was a child, my mum used to cook liver. And,
liver's an unusual taste.
It is.
You get that greeny, not greeny, grainy, irony taste
you do.
to it. where I find chili and garlic, break that up a bit with some onions.
And your taste changes, you know.
It does,
as you
it
get older.
does.
But I couldn't tolerate that as a child.
Yeah.
Even she used to cook it with onions and bacon, and it would smell amazing.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't tolerate the flavour. And then this client of ours, when we were guiding, insisted on feeding us the heart of his deer. He kept it in the fridge for a couple of days.
Yeah.
And then he sliced it up and I just didn't like it. To me, it tasted a bit like liver, and I didn't really like it. But I believe you have to core the heart.
Yeah, you do.
He didn't do that.
Yeah.
And I'm determined to do that this year.
It's good. It's good. I'll put it there with backstrap and tenderloins.
I'm
It's one of the better cuts.
I've never been an offal eater.
Yeah.
Even kidneys. I'll eat kidneys in a pie.
Yeah.
If you got like 3 litres of tomato sauce, I'll eat it.
Yeah, I'll go heart any day. Kidneys, they're again unusual taste.
Yeah.
People either love them or hate them. Liver's the same. I made some liver pate out of the Stephen Ranella cookbook. The only thing is I put a bit too much scotch in while I was making it, and it was just tasted as scotch rather than tasting the liver.
See, now I could never eat pate when I was a child, but now I can eat pate. And I quite like it, so I'm sure.
Your taste buds do change along the way.
I'm definitely going to do it.
So we've gone through pack. Dream 5 hunts. What's still on the list?
Still
on the list, yeah.
Oh, that's very easy. I still have not got a tar.
Yep.
I still not got a hog deer.
Yep.
I still haven't got a seeker.
There.
Yes.
Again, we've played this one before, but this is from my seeker hunt in New Zealand.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. It's one of the best sounds. Like that sound over like even a red or a fallow croaking and roaring. That sound is just.
I love it.
It brings chills. But yeah.
Black bear.
Yep.
So that's 4. And a big, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, yep.
What I call a motherfucker of a fallow.
Yep.
Not just a big fallow. It's got to be like, you look at it and say, motherfucker, I need that. So they're the 5 things that I'd really like to.
Yeah, well, tar, beautiful animal. Hopefully for my 30th, I'll get over there and chase them.
When is that going to be?
Next year, hopefully.
Well, I was hoping to get there next year, so you never know.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Yeah. Hopefully all this COVID shit dies down and makes it a bit easier.
Let's not go there. Yeah, I think it will. But.
Yeah. Black bear, one of my dream hunts as well. Just I've had some black bear jerky, amazing eating.
I haven't tasted black bear at all. Yeah, that's
but I really want to try it fresh.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Clay Newcomb Bear Hunting Magazine podcast, and he's got a new one now. But just the way he describes black bear and eating black bears really bring out a new passion.
I know. It just looks. I mean, you've seen the video of Ranella cooking it in its own fat.
The fat with the blueberries. I think everyone that hunts has seen that one. What about top beginner tip? So if someone getting in, what would be your biggest tip for them?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Really, what helped me the most, I think, many, many years ago, was involving myself and surrounding myself with people who have done that.
Yep.
So, and I'm very happy to pass on information to people who I meet.
Yeah.
And to help it. Last year, 2021, I didn't shoot a deer at all.
Yeah, I've seen lots of photos of people that you help get onto deer.
Sure, and I'm happy. I mean, I can't help everyone.
Yeah,
and I feel bad.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, and so, but I'm really happy. So I think just being able to be out there and surround yourself with people who've been there and done that.
Yeah,
as long as they're, reliable people.
Yeah,
I think joining an association can be a good idea. That can be a bit daunting too, I mean, I I joined the ADA many years ago in the 80s, and I didn't enjoy the experience back then. It was still very secretive, and there were like cliques even inside the club.
Yeah, I've heard that even now today, and that's been off-putting. Like, I've never been a member of an archery club or a hunting club or anything like that, but I'm hearing good things through that. It's starting to change, and some of the cliques are...
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, as you know, I've joined the Southeast branch of the ADA, and I was fortunate because, you know, Hainsey's a member, and so through him I met quite a few other people, you know, but as a newcomer it could be a little bit intimidating, but a lot of people out there are very happy to talk and help and advise, and you know.
Yeah, it's I believe it's very difficult for new hunters getting into it because we don't really have a hunting culture per se,
correct,
compared to America or even New Zealand.
Absolutely.
So finding the information and getting access,
and you know, this forum, what you're doing, is a great thing for people to listen to.
Yeah,
we didn't have this a lot. 30 years ago, you know, even 20 years ago, people weren't doing this as much. And this is a great forum for people to listen to and get advice. I mean, there's a plethora of information now that just wasn't available.
Like Facebook can be either the worst thing for hunting or the best thing for hunting at the exact same time. Like, you know,
I mean, you know, I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook. I accidentally you know how if you put something on Insta, it automatically shares unless you consciously turn that off. And sometimes I forget. But I had some bad experiences with the Hunting Australia page on Facebook some years ago, so that put me off it a little bit, and I tend not to.
Yeah, when I say Facebook, I just mean social media in general, whether it's Instagram and all of that really stuff. I've made lots of great friends through exactly. It can either be the worst thing or the best thing at the exact same time. There's a lot of judgmental stuff. We had a chat with Ilias, the last podcast, about him being cautious about putting his first goat on Instagram because it was only a nanny. So you got that big buck, big goat, big pig mentality where everyone posts the biggest and oldest animal, and it was off-putting. Like he didn't want to get judged for just shooting a nanny.
That's a shame.
And I had to convince him. I'm like, look, lots of people shoot nannies and does and all of that. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Like, you were proud of it, and he still is proud of it. But he was just didn't want the criticism of only shooting. Like, he was worried, but he didn't get any criticism. No. Like, everyone was happy. It was as they should be. A goat with a traditional bow is a big accomplishment, no matter who you are.
You know what? It doesn't matter. He's gone out there and he's done something, and he's done it ethically and legally. And you know, there's no, even if people did judge him, I wouldn't even worry about anything like that. Exactly,
but it's just these things that
Have you had any bad comments or negative comments on Insta? Or?
I've had heaps, man. Really? I've had a global hate campaign for shooting feral cats. I was on ABC. I was
You're kidding.
New York Times Magazine. Bunch of
You're famous.
I copped a lot of I was getting 2,000 death threats a week for a minute there, and
far out. I didn't know that. I've never had any bad, except for a few of our own hunters.
So I post the stuff publicly, like all of my profiles, they're all public. So it takes one person to share them to a vegan activist, anti-hunting group. I was a bit younger then, so I gave a bit more shit back to them. So that only just grows it. But hey, all publicity is good publicity, you know.
Have you seen Hainsey's response to some people who give him negative criticism?
Yeah,
it's
some.
a good response. He kind of just said, no worries, thank you very much.
And
he just blows it off.
And exactly. I like to use it these days more to educate if I can see it in the message, if I'm able to, like I say, because a lot of the times it's people from America or other European countries and all of that. I say, especially with the cats, I'm like, look, it's an introduced animal. They're causing havoc on our native wildlife. Absolutely. You can't spray and neuter them all, you know. You can't, because that's a lot of people's, especially from overseas. They're like, why can't you just spray and neuter them and then release them again? It's like, the issue isn't that they're fucking our native animals to death. They're eating them. So the only way to get rid of them is to kill them. You know, so.
Yes.
Yeah, but that, like I said, there's great things about social media and the hunting space, and then there's the bad things as well, because the photos get out. It causes a bad light on the hunting. I admit it myself that the photos at the time getting all out, and me doing an ABC story with a news crew and the cat getting away on camera didn't go to plan, you know. But it all works out in the end, you know. You can put the positive message as well as you can. I've convinced a bunch of people into hunting afterwards that were against it, and have changed their mind about trophy hunting in Africa and all of that stuff.
I still get that.
Yeah, because have you hunted Africa? You have. Yeah. So I haven't, but you out of everyone know where the money goes into it and how it all goes.
Seen it firsthand, and look, virtually everyone who challenges me on that are reasonable enough to listen to the idea. They still may not like it, but
you're very well spoken, so you can get your point across quite well as well.
You know, it's just a matter of educating people in the nice way so that they don't think you're having a crack at it. And then at the end of the day, some people just don't want to listen to any truth, and that's fine. But, you know, all I ask is that they just give me an ear and hear our side of things and why things are done. And if you still don't like it, that's fine. But, well, I mean, that's fine.
Exactly. It's more when they just start trying to ban stuff. Like you see all the bans on trophy hunting in Africa and their export bans and that, how it suffers, like the animals suffer at the end because photography and stuff like that's not going to make the money that hunting does for the conservation dollars at the end of the day. So...
look, I don't hide what I do from anyone. Like, even in my work, I'm very open and honest. And if someone asks me what I'm doing this weekend, I will tell them.
Yeah.
And I must say, there are some people who might be a little bit surprised, but they're very courteous, and they will hear what I do and how we do it. You know. So I don't hide it from anyone.
Yeah, I'm very much the same. Someone would like, oh, what'd you do on the weekend? I went hunting, and they're like, what? I'm like, deer, and they're like, we have deer here.
That's right.
Or I'll get, oh, you like hunting, but you wouldn't be one of those hunters that would go to Africa and shoot a lion or an elephant. And I'm like, if I had the money, I would. And they're like, wait, what? I'm like, well, this is where the money goes. This is the animals that you're targeting. This is the benefit of targeting these older animals. And they're like, oh, well, you don't hear that through the media. You just hear this.
Yes. Well, media. Let's not talk about that either.
Hey, this is media. It's getting it out there. So
this is good
it's not all bad.
This is not mainstream media.
Top 5 beginner items for beginners. What would you recommend?
Yeah, so now in this, 2022, binoculars.
Yep.
Rangefinder. A pack.
Yep.
Really good boots.
Yeah, boots are
and
lifesaver.
The best you can afford. Make sure they're waterproof. I like 8-inch boots only because I can walk through a puddle and it's not going to come over the top. It gives me a little bit extra protection against snakes.
Yeah.
In the wet weather, I'll put gaiters over the top of it, so I'm basically waterproof.
I find dry weather gaiters are a lifesaver for prickles too, because those prickles just work their way into your boot no matter what.
Yeah. What boots are you running right now?
Oboes.
Okay.
So they're just a little bit higher than ankle height. They're a Kathmandu boot.
Yes.
They're a leather based boot.
Yeah.
They're pretty good. I'm on my second pair in 6 years, so they've done New Zealand, Mexico,
Cool.
So they've been...
I see people constantly saying, look, this boot or that boot or
Yeah.
no boot is waterproof. And it's just not true. I mean, I've just ruined my pair of Mindals that I've had since 2010. I mean, they were a very expensive boot back then.
Yeah.
And they've lasted me 11 years.
Yeah, I don't mind too much about getting my feet wet too much, especially if it's just a day hunt or a 2-day hunt. But when I went to New Zealand and my feet got wet and you're out in the bush for a week, it's just been cold and miserable. Like, I've never been as cold as I have been as when I was in New Zealand, or as miserable. Like, just getting to sleep when you're soaking wet and cold is just...
It's miserable. Yeah, it's terrible.
But the best time I had. As cold and as miserable.
And I find what happens is people don't wear gaiters.
Yeah.
And their pants get wet, which then wicks the moisture down into their socks, and they think their boots are leaking.
Yeah.
But it's actually coming in.
Yeah, coming through the top of your pants. Yeah.
It's very hard to convince people that.
So, what gaiters?
I've got a pair of cheap, inverted commas, Kathmandu low gaiters. So for someone my height, low gaiters are kind of like half my shin height. So, and they work fine.
Yeah.
For me. They just strap on, there's a little clip that straps onto my laces, and then I just Velcro them on at the back, and they work fine for me. Usually with our weather here, on a normal winter's day, by mid-morning, I probably don't need them.
Yeah.
If it's been raining heavily and the grass is sodden and I'm walking through thick grass, and I'll wear them like all day.
I'll have to try that, because I've only ever really worn them for snakes and prickles and that. I haven't really worn them through wet. I've got a pair of Huntec gaiters, and they're real big, canvas backed. They're big, heavy zip on them.
Yes.
They're heavy. They can be a little bit loud if you don't have the zip, because it's a big zip and clip. If you don't have that sitting right, it can be, you hear the little metal on metal bit at times, but I'll have to give that a try through.
Yeah, I'd recommend it. We generally do it all the time and you can buy gaiters pretty cheaply. And then the last thing I think people need for a newbie is a pack.
A pack?
I would say, they're the basic essential things, but I can't emphasise enough with binos.
Yeah,
They're
binos are
so
probably
important. Number one.
If I'm taking someone like Ilias, we discussed this on the last episode, that he's like, I invited him out hunting. I'm like, do you have this, this, and this? And he, no, I don't. So he's went down, bought a pair of binos. He bought a knife, because quite often I'll tell people, you need a pair of binos, you need a knife, a pack, water. The amount of times I've gone hunting with people who have no water. Yeah, right. And I've got a 3-litre bladder in my pack, and I normally carry 4 litres extra.
Yeah, I don't use I've got a 3-litre bladder too. Yeah. I was coming home with 1.5 litres, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to do this anymore. So I just run it's a Kathmandu equivalent of a Nalgene bottle. Yeah. It's about 1.2 litres. I just keep that. That's enough for me for a day, and then I fill it back when I get back to camp.
Yeah, I'm a shocker. I leave water in my camel pack like there could be water in there from last rut for all I know.
Sorry, what was that pack you run again?
It's a Tatonka.
Yes.
So New Zealand, New Zealand brand. I did a bunch of research on a bunch of packs in my price range, and they're definitely the best bang for a buck for that price range.
They're good packs.
Very, very good. Lots of compartments, lots of zips, and like still now I'm like, hey, I haven't seen this zip before, and and they do a 90-litre plus 10. Yes. So like they do every size gaiter, 55 litre. Yep. What about yourself? What type of?
I've got an Outdoorsman.
Yep.
The US. Not mainly, but because I can adjust.
Meat eater influenced.
And I've got the very same pattern as Vanilla runs, actually.
Yeah, no, the Outdoorsman's packs are good. I looked at them for quite a bit, and they also do the Outdoorsman Atlas. Have you seen that?
Yes, I have.
The weight training pack.
Yes, I have. I actually had a Crooked Horn extended range pack.
Yep.
But it was too high for me, and it was giving me a headache because it was hitting me in the back of my head and making me like crane my neck forwards, which was giving me a headache. So I actually sold it to Dwayne.
Yep.
And using that money, and a bit extra, I bought the Outdoorsman because I can adjust the webbing on. It's got a
because they're an internal frame pack.
It's got a frame, so I can adjust the webbing so it suits different heights.
Yeah, awesome.
So that was pretty cool. Yeah.
And then you can just use the meat shelf. And
so mine doesn't have a meat shelf, but it's got a very generous general pouch where I can just shove. Well, I can put a whole fallow deer in there.
Yeah, I'm the same with the Tatonka. I can have it pretty full of all my stuff.
Yep.
And then bone out a fallow and put that in there pretty nicely.
And then you got to carry it out.
Exactly. But if you've got a good backpack, a good waist, the waist bit is because people don't really rely on the waist stuff; they just carry it on their shoulders. But once you put it on your waist, it's a game changer for sure.
Biggest, what I found when that helped the most was my friend Steve, who does a reloading, and Dwayne, Aussie Outbush, and myself. We spent a week in the high country, and we just lived out of our packs for 6 days, and that's where it really came. It was worth its weight in gold, and that's where the waterproof boots were worth their weight in gold.
I bet. So what type of hiking tents were you running there?
Steve
or tarps?
I just ran a tarp and I froze. But I did have we all have bivvies, but I was very disappointed in my bivvy because it didn't breathe well.
Yeah.
And so I was reluctant to zip it up because I was condensing too much on the inside. Yeah. But I just ran a tarp, which I would do differently now, but I just ran it as an A shape kind of thing.
An A-frame, yeah.
Whereas Steve has this amazing Go-Lite. They don't make them anymore. Go-Lite 5. They're ridiculously lightweight teepee style tent.
Yeah, awesome.
Amazing. And Dwayne had a one-man, just a one-person hiking tent.
Yeah. It's amazing the different types of hiking tents and that are available. I've got a Huntec Outdoors one, and it's got no floor. It's got one pole.
Yep.
It's 2-man, so put it straight on the ground.
Perfect.
It was awesome. I did freeze my ass off in New Zealand in it. One thing I have learnt by listening to podcasts, what I'll do next time is take a hot water bottle with me, and I'll put that in the sleeping bag. And
now we've got all these hand warmers.
Yeah.
Hand warmers and foot warmers. They work where you can actually put them in your socks.
Yeah. So I'll put this in I'll fill it with water. So I've got water in the bottom of the pack, heat it up every night before bed, and I reckon I'll be nice and toasty in the future.
So what kind of sleeping bag did you take?
It was my stepdad's hiking backpack. They got hiking sleeping bag. They got into hiking there for a minute. I think it was a -5, -6, but I was still. I think the mattress I had is just an inflatable cheap hiking mat, so I think I was getting a lot of airflow underneath from the ground, and that.
Was it windy?
No. So it was pretty foresty where we were, so we were pretty sheltered from that. But it was wet. So
North Island?
Yeah, North Island.
Beach forest.
Yeah, not beach forest. It's near Taupo, so it was.
No, I mean the beach trees.
Yeah.
I love that.
Everything's mossy, but that's one thing I found when you're hiking through there. You grab a tree to pull yourself up on, and it just crumbles in your hand because it's rotten under the moss.
Been there, done that. Yes, it's great.
Favorite thing to cook with fallow or venison that you?
Yeah, just lately, I've been roasting the backstraps whole, and they are amazing.
Barbecue oven.
In my oven.
Yep.
So it's a Jamie Oliver recipe.
Fancy.
Look, it's simple as. You basically get a skillet or a roasting pan.
Yep.
And you put it in the oven and get it up to 180 degrees.
Yep.
While you're doing that, you get the backstrap. If it's too big for your skillet, you can cut it in half.
Yeah.
And you oil it and then roll it in whatever you want. Classically, salt, pepper, maybe a bit of garlic powder. He used juniper berries.
Yeah.
Not everyone likes the taste. But I've used cranberries,
like
dried cranberries. Then when the pan's up to temperature, you bring it out and you simply put a little bit of oil in there and it sizzles. Roll the backstrap in the oil, and then you can crush a bit of garlic and whatever herbs you want just for the aromatics. Put it in the oven for 8 minutes.
Awesome.
You, 8 minutes and it's done to perfection.
I'm going to have to give that a go.
And so what I did then, while that was in the oven, I quickly made a glaze of butter and cranberry sauce and a little bit of sriracha.
Yum.
Okay? And I just reduced it. So when the meat came out after I rested it, we sliced it and we drizzled the glaze. Oh my God, it was sensational.
So I've been...
That's our go-to.
What I've been wanting to do, I've been doing it with pork tenderloin, pork loins at the moment in the Weber queue, is I get honey, sriracha, lemon juice, olive oil, and garlic.
Oh, yeah?
A shitload of garlic, and just mix it all up.
That sounds right.
Season the
Sounds
loin,
great.
and then just put it in, and then just every couple of minutes you just baste it.
How long
and,
would you typically do that?
probably about half an hour on the pork loin, but it's quite a bit thinner than a fallow backstrap, so I'll do that probably about the same, because you want it quite well. I personally like venison pretty red.
Yeah, I generally wouldn't let it get above 125 Fahrenheit.
Yeah,
I say Fahrenheit only because Jamie Oliver talks in that.
Yeah,
and I don't let it get past 125 Fahrenheit. So whatever that is in Celsius, it's not very much.
no,
So
I
that's
think
why
it'd probably
more
be
than
50 degrees. Yeah.
So, and it's just perfect. It's just, the ends might be a little bit more well done.
Yeah.
And the centre, it's just definitely
Perfect.
medium rare. It's beautiful, just spectacular.
Yeah, I like that rare. About rare. Quite often, if I take someone out for their first deer, I'll make them eat a little bit of raw venison while we're.
well, yeah, we've done that. Do you do the blood decoration?
No. Just make them eat some raw venison.
I do the blood decoration.
Or get some lemon juice and some black pepper and just mix that up together, and then just dip it in there. And
no, my hunters get smeared with blood. That's the rule. If they're coming out with me, your face is going to get smeared with blood, and then you get a photograph taken of it.
That's great.
I think you might have seen Hayden.
Yeah. How do you see the public views on hunting?
Oh, look, I'd have to say ignorance.
Yep.
And that's, so, let me clarify that. So ignorance means lack of knowledge. It's not a derogatory term generally. Deliberate ignorance is stupidity.
Exactly.
There's a difference. Okay. But ignorance is just that they just don't know. And that's probably a reason why people like us are willing to talk about it. And I think most people are quite receptive to hearing that. There'll always be people who are anti it, and it doesn't matter what we say, we won't change their minds, so I don't even bother.
Yeah.
But so I think when we explain to people what we do and how we do it, they're much more receptive to what we do.
Yeah, I find when you're having a conversation to someone and you tell them and then show them a photo, they're much more understanding.
Yes.
Rather than when because how social media algorithms work, it just pops up in their feed, and then they tend to be a bit more standoffish when it comes to that.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I've had numerous people condemning me for hunting.
Yeah.
And yet their partner or they fish.
Yeah, I've come across the same thing.
I don't see the difference. I mean, I've had people who have admitted to me that they see the irony of taking a photograph of their steak.
Yeah.
Oh, but, I'm not killing the animal, and look, you're enjoying killing it, and people conflate the notion of killing an animal and hunting an animal.
They kind of think that we're getting the joy from actually the killing of the animal rather than everything that goes into it and everything that you get out after it. Killing it's only that small split second.
Well, how many times have you been out and not pulled an arrow? I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, that's
it's only a very, very small part of it. There's so much more, like just being out there on sunrise or sunset, hearing all, like on sunrise in the Australian bush, like you hear one species of bird, then two species of bird, then the magpies go in, and then you start hearing the cockies and all of that, and just the bush wakes up, and the kangaroos start moving through, and just watching everything come to life.
It's the time when let's not get too philosophical here, but I find I get a great deal of clarity, and it's when answers, for the want of a better term, come to me. Like, sometimes there's problems in your life, and at that time, when you're alone and you're waiting for things to start, maybe things seem to start gelling in my mind.
Yeah.
It's a very, very powerful time for me.
It's yoga, it's meditation,
Yep.
it's if I'm stressed, if like even just shooting the bow, if I'm stressed, all my negativity, all my stress just goes out with the arrow. Same thing with target shooting.
And same thing with target shooting.
Yeah.
We find that when we go, like Saturday, we go out clay shooting, and just to see
I see all the photos and videos and
see that little thing explode is the most satisfying feeling. It's
exactly, and just time with mates.
And
like
time
it's
with the good blokes,
like I'm not a sporting person. I've never played football or soccer or anything like that. So I've always, like, growing up, I've always lacked that hanging out with friends through sports that all the other people had. I was hunting and fishing. Like, people would go, "Oh, what'd you do on the weekend?" "Oh, I went goat hunting with my pop." "Oh, okay." I played sport. I'm like, yeah, I'd rather go hunting.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So these days, being able to spend it with good mates and spend good quality time, like like most of the time you're just talking shit.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
It's the best time because you're laughing, you're just talking absolute.
Yes.
Well, me, Luke, and Ilias talk absolute shit when we're out, and half the time we're just laughing, sitting there giggling. I don't know how we see any animals at all.
It must be a hunter's thing. 'Cause we're very good at talking shit.
Yeah. How would you change the public views on hunting and hunters?
Wow, that's a really good question. I reckon a really good way to start would be trying to make, in South Australia, trying to get us a hunting season.
Yeah.
And make public land available for hunting.
Yep, I can.
Yeah.
I can agree with you on that.
Really good start. We were talking about fishing too, and I think we're kind of a little bit behind the eight ball here, and we have been for longer than you've been alive.
Yeah.
It's never changed.
Yeah, I've heard the stories from my pop when, foxes were worth quite a bit of money and rabbits.
Absolutely.
And, it's like people were, like there was police patrolling country roads looking for fox poachers because people were going around shooting for skins and all of that.
Sure.
And,
And, Zach, also, exactly what you were doing. That's how the public's opinion will change, because my friends might listen to this.
Yeah.
People that know you through someone else might think, I might have a listen to your part and see what this is all about, and then talking to people like I do, like you do, that's how we're going to change. The number of people who have come back to me and say, look, I never thought of it that way, and I saw this coincidentally. I saw this on the news, and I thought of you, and and that made me think about all this. That's how we will change the public, not shying away from it.
Yeah. So
That's what I'm trying to say.
If I'm chatting to someone and they're a bit uneasy, I go, "Do you have Netflix?" "Oh, yeah, I got Netflix." Like majority of the people do these days. Go home, look up Meat Eater on Netflix, watch a couple of episodes of that, and then come back to me and tell me what you think. And then they see the conservation side. Like, even though it's America, they see the conservation side. They see the camaraderie side of it. And then they see the meat side of the stuff.
Yes.
And see that it's not just about the killing, but it's about the food, the conservation, the camaraderie, and all of that in there. And
were we talking a few months ago when we caught up with all the guys? Were we talking about the way Stephen Ranella seemed to be reluctant to celebrate an animal's harvest?
No, I don't think you were talking to... Okay. Might have been Hainsey or...
Yeah. I just noticed that he went through a time where an animal was taken and it was quite a solemn occasion.
Yeah.
Like, you and I might high-five and... And it wasn't that they were unhappy about that, but I don't think he wanted to portray the joy of killing something, which I see that, but I also think it can be a joyful occasion because it's the culmination for somebody who may have been working for several months to get that, and that's not something to be ashamed of, I don't think.
Yeah, it just depends on the hunt and the animal. I've found times where, I shoot something and I just sit with it for 5-10 minutes. Like,
Sure.
I walk up to it and just sit there. I walk up, sit down, give it a pat, say thank you.
Oh, no, that's a wonderful thing to do. But imagine if you took somebody out who'd never shot an animal with a bow.
Yeah.
And he did that. You'd kind of be shaking hands and patting them on the back and...
Yeah, not everyone. Like, I haven't taken as many people out hunting as you by any stretch of the imagination. But some people I've taken out and they don't want to get that excited. No, they just want to... It's a lot to take in, especially for new hunters who haven't taken something. Point. I've grown up hunting. That's all I've known.
No, that's a good point.
So taking the life of something isn't always easy for someone. Even like I've shed tears when I've taken stuff before. Yeah. Like it brings up all types of emotions. And then when you're new to it, it's emotions you haven't felt before. Like I know how to deal with those emotions. You're happy. But walking up to something like, because the deer, the goats, they're beautiful animals. Like especially the deer, you walk up to a nice fallow buck because they got all the pretty spots on them, and
Yes. No, look, that's a fair point. My daughter-in-law, when she shot her first goat, she got very emotional.
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, I'd like to think I'm aware of those situations, but I'm also not averse to showing. I don't know what I'm trying to say. So not a joy of killing the animal, but a happiness.
A congratulations of the hunt.
Yes, and a happiness in the result, what we were trying to do.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like hunting with Luke, we'd run up, give each other a big hug and pat on the back and handshake and
Yeah.
Like it's like winning. I hate comparing sports and hunting. Like I don't see hunting as a sport. I know lots of people do, but using a sport analogy, it's like someone winning a grand final or something, point. And all the players are jumping around, high-fiving.
No, you're right.
And all of that.
I don't like talking about it as being a sport either. I've never done that, and I've discouraged people.
I do the same.
Sport as we know it is it's a competitive thing, and I hate hunting being looked at as being competitive.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where you get into the, in inverted commas, bad trophy hunting.
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, they're not happy unless something's an inch longer than they need it to be. That's a really different...
Yeah, being a guide, you would have your fair share of stories where people are disappointed when they walk up to it and they get that ground shrinkage.
I was very lucky. I never had clients like that, but I've been on guided hunts when I've been with clients like that, with fellow clients.
Yeah.
And, they're only happy when they hear what the tape says.
Yeah,
then
exactly.
They're happy. Yeah. They weren't happy before. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I've heard stories from guides who, people shoot something and then they're upset with what they've shot. It's too small for their trophy room or whatever, which is...
I spoke to a guide who said a couple came and they didn't speak to each other at all because she shot a bigger stag than he did.
Yeah, wow,
and they just wouldn't speak. He wouldn't speak to her for the rest of the hunt.
That's insane.
Stupid.
Like when my wife and I were only together for about a year or so, she got me a fishing charter. She got me two spots on the fishing charter, and I decided to take her. She'd caught a carp before this fishing charter, which I took her out to go catch a couple months beforehand, and she caught the two biggest fish of the charter. She caught a 14-kilo tuna, which was the biggest tuna for the day, and the biggest snapper of the day.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So everyone's like, "Oh, are you upset that she's taken the biggest fish?" Because we jumped on a boat with a bunch of people we didn't know. I'm like, "Nah, I'm freaking stoked! Like that's awesome. I'd be more happy for her to take the bigger fish." And same with friends. So I was with Aaron Wilsh, one of my really good friends. I was chasing this buck for 2 years. I missed him 3-4 times with the bow. A dozen or more failed stalks on it. He's come over from Kangaroo Island and I've taken him out. And I said, just wait here. I'm going to go put a stalk on this buck. If something happens and it runs your way, knock an arrow and shoot it. I failed the stalk. What's it do? Runs straight up 30 meters straight towards him, and he slips a perfect arrow straight through it. I was so emotional, so happy, pissed off, and happy at the same time.
Sure.
But I was, for his first fallow deer ever, to be this beautiful buck that I've had so much experience with. But every time I see him, I go, "You shot my deer." But I couldn't be more happy that he did it either. I'm more happy that he shot it than if I shot it. And it's the same taking new hunters out. I'd rather take a new hunter out and get them shoot something, their first animal, their first of a species, because I feel better with someone else taking it and teaching, because then you get them down and you teach them how to skin it, you teach them how to gut it, you teach them how to butcher it. It's the whole experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. So what is hunting to you?
So the first thing that comes to my mind is a glib answer that it is a way of life, but it is my way of life.
Yeah.
It's me. It's what I do. It is me. It probably is what defines me more than even my profession. It's the best friendships I have made are through hunting.
Yeah.
The closest friends, the most meaningful conversations I've had are with my hunting friends.
Yeah. I couldn't put that better myself. That'd be a very similar answer to, but not as well put together.
I mean, the first thing I think of is when I want to have a barbecue is get the guys around.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Their girls,
yeah.
So I'd have to say that's what hunting is to me. It's my life.
That's a great answer. Okay, off cuff one, zombie apocalypse weapon. What would you pick?
Do I have to have one? Just one? I'd have to say
main one. I'd say
if we could have it, an AR-15.
Yeah.
I've always wanted an AR-15. I so badly want one, but that would be it.
Yeah.
And then my old Smith & Wesson 357.
Yeah.
Just because it was so cool.
So yeah, Luke, his answer was a sword, and Elias was a hatchet.
You know what? I mean, they're not silly ideas. So
just can't run out of.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly right. I like the old Walking Dead crossbow.
Yeah.
But you've only got so many bolts, and you can only use them so much. And reload. That's the hardest thing there. What's something important you've forgotten on a hunting trip?
A rifle. I had to turn around and go back and get it. I had the bolt, but not the rifle.
Is that 10 minutes into the drive?
Yeah, that
it was 2 hours into the drive?
It was pretty quick. And then when I was very young on a duck hunt, my dad and I got to Gawler and realised we forgot the shotguns. Oh, and food. I might say Steve and I got all the way to Tail and Bend and realised I'd made a big pot of stew.
That's not so bad because you can always shoot something to eat.
And we bought a couple of chickens, roast chickens.
Yeah, I've always got 2-minute noodles in my bag just in case.
Oh no, you haven't met Steve. You haven't met Steve?
No, I haven't.
No, you don't miss two things with Steve. You don't forget food, and you don't forget coffee. Oh, you'll be dead. He'll kill you before. Yeah.
So when I was in New Zealand, speaking of coffee, I found these coffee tea bags.
Oh yeah,
and you can get them over here.
Robert Tim's.
Yeah,
I've got some in my pack now.
They're great. They're great to carry in the hunting bag. Same. The most I've ever forgotten on a trip was the quiver for the bow. So I had the bow but no arrows.
So you left the I
left the quiver at home.
Oops.
Yeah. What's the most dangerous thing that's happened on a hunting trip?
dangerous to a fellow hunter, I nearly clocked somebody once because he was pissing me off something. And that was in Canada. There was one guy, he was just... This guy, we were hunting caribou.
Yep.
And how you hunt caribou is, hopefully you hit the migration.
Yep.
Right?
Wait for him to move through.
Yes, so they put you up at vantage points and just wait, and it's kind of like shopping. You just say, no, I don't want that one. I don't want that one. I'll wait for that one. It's kind of fun.
It looks awesome. I would love to do it.
So this guy shot a bull, and we were walking back down. So that they pick us up at the lake, So we'd walk back down these little hills, and I thought he was crying. But he was moaning so loud. My knees are, I can't move. And he's walking stiff-legged. So we're all concerned, So we're all packing all his gear and his meat down, as well as ours. And all in the boat ride, he was carrying on like a freaking 2-year-old. Oh, my knees are hurting. My knees are hurting. Get back to camp, and he disappeared into his cabin. And, we all cleaned up and did our own thing, and I saw him outside and I said, how you going? He goes, oh, yeah, I'm fine. I just had 2 shots of whiskey and I'm fine. He just didn't want to carry anything down. I could have shot him. I was pissed.
As you would be.
But in all seriousness, so again, in the mid-90s, a very close friend of mine who's not a hunter, he's an accountant.
Yeah.
So he's soft. No, he's a great guy. He got a job on Hayman Island.
Yep.
Okay, as an accountant. And we were very close friends because the kids were the same age.
Yeah.
And one day, his wife and my wife were talking on the phone, and he wanted to talk to me, so he said, there's wild goats on this island. So people may not know, but in the old days, they actually deliberately released goats onto these islands, so...
Goats and pigs, and so if they ever got shipwrecked,
correct.
There'd be food.
So Hayman Island, if people don't know, is a exclusive resort.
Yeah.
And just as a I don't know if you know, but so it's a bush island, and so to make it look like a tropical resort, they brought in from the mainland soil to dump onto a little cove so they could make a tropical.
No, I didn't know that.
It's amazing.
It's crazy.
In the soil was cane toad eggs and death adder eggs. So now Hayman Island, one of the most exclusive resorts in the world, is infiltrated with cane toads and death adders.
Humans horrible.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Anyway, so he said to me, there's goats all over this island, and they're a real problem, because he said, we had a general meeting. They said, well, because the goats were coming into the resort and some of the big billies, and I was joking. I said, look, you know what? Just pay me, bring me over, and I'll come and shoot them for you. Anyway, I was joking.
Sounds like a good deal.
Yeah, but I was joking. A week later, he rings me and goes, I got your job. There was an airline that you may remember called Ansett.
No.
Ansett Airlines was in the 90s. It went broke.
Yeah.
And Ansett owned Hayman Island at that time. Well, they flew... My youngest was not even... It was just over a year old.
Yeah.
Right? So they flew the whole family up, put us up in... So in 1996, this is, put up in a $1,500 a night suite. Right? And my job was to go and shoot the goats.
This sounds like a bloody good deal.
It was awesome. All food, drink, paid for, just everything. Anything we wanted off, a la carte menus, as much booze as we wanted.
And I'm going to start messaging islands.
So on the first day, it was a bit of a recce trip. Right?
Yeah.
The local fireman, he was assigned to show me around where I was going to go, right, and show me the paths and how I needed to go. It was about a 5K walk down to the end. Anyway, he was showing me around, and we were sitting on this bluff. It was just spectacularly beautiful. That just looking down on my left over the bluffs was this aqua blue water, just crystal clear white sand, just spectacular. And we were just waiting for the remainder of the tourists to get off the trail so we could shut the trail. And we were just watching, and I was looking to my right away from the bay, and I heard this crash, and I just looked into the bay, and there was a hammerhead shark that he estimated was about 14, 15 feet long, right?
Bloody hell.
And it was chasing bait fish.
Yeah.
You could hear it snapping, and there's jaws crashing. It was awesome.
That's insane.
Anyway, so these people had left, and he put these, like crime scene tags across the path so people can go. So we started looking to see if we could see some goats just on that first night, and I heard some bleating, so we followed around the back of the bluff, and there was this narrow trail on the bluff. So we're walking along it, and the trail started getting narrower and narrower and narrower, and goes, look, it's just a little bit further. It got to the point where I had to sling my rifle on my back, and I was holding onto the bluff with my hands, and my feet, like my toes were on the ledge, and my heels were off the ledge.
I've been there with the bow.
And below me is a shark, right, in the bank. Right? And I'm thinking, this is not a good position.
That's some movie shit right there.
Yeah, and we're like sidling along, 1 foot and holding on. And he said, I think we better climb out of here. And I think, yeah, well, I think we better climb. So we just climbed over the top. Well, he got into huge trouble because they didn't have insurance and everything. He got into huge trouble for taking it. I thought it was hilarious.
Goat trails, they lead into some bluffy areas.
That was probably one of the most dangerous things. Just as a side as well, when I left, my friend Mark rang me, and the fireman got sacked because he lit a fire on the island. He was a pyromaniac.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they tend to drift to those positions.
Yeah.
Not all firefighters are pyros, but
no,
a lot of pyros get into those
I know.
positions, unfortunately. What's the funniest thing that's happened? I reckon that's pretty funny.
Oh my God, where do we start? I've had so many funny slash. You don't have a question for me about an embarrassing thing too, do you?
No.
Okay. So, some years ago, Steve, Dwayne, and I went to the high country. This wasn't for a week's hunt. This was for a. Actually, it was. It was a 5-day, but we weren't backpacking in.
Yeah.
So we went. Bright.
Yep.
Okay, so out from Bright, there's a valley called the Bucklands Valley.
Yep.
And it's just beautiful. It goes for a long way. And at the end of it, there's a mountain called Mount Selwyn, I think I've got it right. So we camped up at the top of Mount Selwyn. And we were hunting around there. There was a lot of traffic, so we didn't actually see a lot of sign. And on one of the nights, we were just around the campfire, and there was some rangers, forest workers there as well. So they came and joined us, had a couple of beers, and they said, look, just letting you know that the weather's coming in. And driving up to the top of this mountain where we were, it was a bit dodgy.
Yeah.
And he said, look, there's a bit of weather coming in, and if it rains out, the track may be washed out. So it's a long drive over the top of a mountain back to, he said, you might want to get down to the river flats. So we packed up in the morning, we drove down, and we camped at this beautiful little river, wouldn't have been more than 15 feet wide and probably knee deep at the deepest,
Yeah.
So we set up camp, and there was some little rocks. We walked across the river, and we went for a walk across the river, and we heard a couple of sambar hinds bark at us. And
that's an unreal sound.
Yeah, we were just looking, So we turned around, it was getting dark, and we walked back. And we walked back, we missed, obviously, where we had come off the river. And I stood on this flat rock, and there was a deep channel. When I say deep, I'm talking like knee, thigh deep. It wasn't really, but it was only 5 feet wide, 6 feet wide, not even 6 feet. So we jumped across it, and landed onto this gravel bar. And when I did that, it splashed a bit of water onto my pants, right? So no big deal. We walked across, got the campfire, took my shoes or my pants off, put my trackies on, and I was drying my pants. And so the next morning we did the same thing. We went a bit further. And wouldn't you know it, coming back, we came to the same friggin' flat rock. So the other boys went off the rock and around the bank a little bit.
Yeah.
Found another spot. Not me, right? I'm looking at the rock and think, I just don't want to get the bottom of my pants wet, right? So on my left, from the flat rock to the bank, was a log. Again, 7 or 8 feet. I took one step on that log and I fell upside. I smashed my shin. I fell up. So I got my pack, my rifle strapped onto my pack, my binoculars on. I fell upside down into the channel. I'm serious. My legs were like a Y, right? The only thing that wasn't wet were the bottom of my pants.
Well, that's so what you wanted.
I've come up spluttering, and Dwayne and Steve are staring at me like I could tell that they're dying to laugh, and they just weren't game.
Just waiting for the okay.
Yes, making sure I had, because I thought I'd broken a leg or something. So that's one of the funnier things that's happened to me.
That's great. Yeah, it's always the stream that you shouldn't jump. You should just walk around, or
I mean,
when it happens,
the bottom of my pants. See, my rifle was soaking wet. We fired 2 shots through it just to blast it dry. My binoculars. Oh.
Yeah, I've fallen in a couple of streams just trying to take the easiest route by jumping or just like walking on a rock and it just being moss covered or slime covered and just boom straight on your ass in the stream. Another off cuff one. Most random fact you know.
Well, a couple. I don't know if these are facts, as you call it, but one of the facts is Joshua Haynes has got the most perverted sense of humour I've ever known. Seriously, he's sick, man. And 2, I've never found fallow bucks with sheep. Have you ever noticed that? If you've got a mob of sheep, keep moving. You're very unlikely to see resident or even deer hanging around. They might move through, but never have I seen sheep and deer mingle.
Yeah, the property I hunt quite often see deer moving through, but not.
Why do you think that is? Have you thought about that?
Sheep are fuckwits.
Well, yeah. I mean, we hate. I just wonder if it's the noise.
It could be
smell, because they're constantly bleating.
It could be the noise, and it could be the smell of the lanolin,
and it masks their ability to smell us. You know,
could be that.
I don't know if that's true, but I've never known. We've seen them move through.
Yeah,
but like I've seen them near cattle.
Yeah, cattle. You hear like especially reds. You hear reds
yep.
and sambar being with cattle quite a bit. You know, you get a young spike.
I've seen reds with, in the vicinity of cattle, but I've never seen fallow and sheep, or deer in general, and sheep.
It's a good point, especially with the smell and the sound. I haven't really thought of it, but we
use it when we go. Like if there's sheep in a paddock, generally just don't. Quite apart from the fact that you cause a stampede of 500,000.
Yeah, they're stupid. They just blow through, and then the next stupidest thing is kangaroos.
Land lice.
So, Richard, how can people find you on social media?
Oh, so I'm more active on Insta.
Yeah.
And I'm richbar17, RICH. I think I am that, aren't I? RICH.
Something like that. I'll put it in the show notes and share it off of my accounts.
And reach out and touch base. I'm happy to chat about things, and I enjoy. If people got any questions or anything like that. I can't honestly promise to take people hunting a lot for obvious reasons, but I'm happy to, if people want to meet us. We through this Joshy Bates and myself, we've met a few guys who've caught up with us at the Clay Club as well.
You guys got your little clay buddies.
We did. Well, Josh Hainesy's the one who Beretta helped us out a little bit. And
I've seen that. That's awesome stuff. You guys get the venison snags out. Eat some venison between.
Absolutely.
Hainesy's Metwurst is it's pretty damn
cool,
good.
Huh? It's cool, yeah. And I bought one of his little, those little Barbies that he's got.
Yeah.
I Hayden and myself and Joshy got one of those. They're awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
Fantastic. So we just have we have a couple of rounds and we have a couple of beers and then, like you said, talk shit.
Yeah.
Cook up a little feed, or I'll bring some. Our classic is oysters, smoked oysters and crackers and cheese.
Yeah, I carry packs of smoked oysters everywhere. I love them.
They're great.
They're
good protein.
Yeah, they're very very good. Well, I used to find these chili ones that were really good, but I can't. And them and sardines. chili sardines.
Oh, nice. Sounds good.
They're good. But yeah, we've wrapped that up. We're almost an hour and a half in. I'll try and keep these ones to an hour. But thank you very much for
talking too much.
No, all good. Thank you very much for coming on.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me. It was
not a problem.
Great.